So it gives me immense pleasure to present the topic of today, that is my session, that is Foundations of Group Behavior and Communication. And at any moment when I'm presenting, it is because 1.5 hour session, any questions, any clarifications you have, please feel free to ask, clarify. And I understand that most of you are faculty. In fact, 99% of you may be faculty who are part of this program. So I'm assuming that you have and you are doing this particular course or FDP, undertaking this program because you want to teach organizational behavior to your students. Am I right in my assumption?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Definitely.
So you will be teaching this course, and you would like to know, how you can make it interesting, because it's a very interesting subject. You must have seen in the last day also, the topics are quite interesting, and there are so many innovative methods through which you can teach this particular course. So I really thoroughly enjoy teaching these courses. And in fact, I also organize workshops for industry people on some of the topics. You can't, for industry people, you cannot have the entire book. You cannot teach the entire course, but then part of it, like communication, group behavior, team building, all these things are part of our most of the workshops that we conduct are based on these kinds of sessions. Okay, so let me start. Any doubts, you feel free to ask. So I hope the audio is okay and you're able to see the screen also. It's legible?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is the session overview, the typical what is there in your, which is there part of the organization behavior course, whichever book that you follow. So I have taken that, and 1.5 hours, to be very frank, is a very less time, because usually when you handle such a topic, you do it through a workshop kind of mode or experiential learning, where you involve the participants in discussions, in activities, in exercises, games. Then only the fun in having this topic and the fun in learning this topic is there. The learning becomes really complete. But it is okay. I will also tell you what are the ways in which I handle this topic, and in what way I involve my students. So this is the session overview. Usually when I start this on foundations of group behavior or team and group, we use interchangeably. When we are doing a session on this, the first thing that we do is some Energizer activity. Usually what I do is, there are many energizing activities. One of the things that I do is I will put a picture, very unrelated pictures on the screen, and ask the students to create a story out of those pictures. And I'll give them some 5 minutes or 4 minutes, and quickly they create a story. And then I will ask each student to, not every student, depends on the group number. Depending on the group number, I will ask them to come forward and then narrate the story, few of them. And then after that, I will put them in groups. In putting them in groups also, you may be knowing there are various innovative ways in which you can put them in groups. And then again, the same picture you can show, or a different picture, and then ask them to work in group and then come out with a story. This again, I give them some 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. And then I will ask a few groups to narrate the story. And then I will ask them, when they were doing it individually, was it better? Or when they were doing it in a group, it was better. And then they come and say that, obviously when they were working in a group, the creativity is high. So that is how I tell them the importance of groups and how groups help them to come up with innovative ideas, improves the creativity in the group, right? So this is one way, and they are then charged up and they are motivated to learn, and they look forward to the session. So in any course delivery, we should always motivate the participants to look forward to the course. Otherwise, they will be sitting there expecting a boring lecture or discussion. So this energizes them and they look forward to the rest of the course. So this you also can try. So I've just put it like an icebreaker or something which you can try with your students, right? Again, groups, we all know that there are formal groups, informal groups. Sometimes a group of people just standing there, they are also groups. Okay, there's an accident or something which happens, and then you find a few people standing there, that is also a group. But when you use in the organizational context, then it is not referred as that concept is not referred as group. Groups are formed when they have a particular objective, right? And sometimes groups and teams are used interchangeably in an organizational context. So you have formal groups, which is defined by the organization structure, by the line of authority. You have your director and a team of 10 to 12 faculty under him. That is a formal group, right? And you have informal groups are also there through friendship or through interest groups. For example, like I told you, formal groups, command groups. Command groups are the ones, like I told you, a director or a principal and the faculty under him. Or in an organizational context, you can have the production department, production manager, and the people under him, right? And the entire organization also you can consider a formal group. They are all determined by the line of authority. Then you have task groups where some problem solving or some fact finding issues are there. Then you form a group. For example, if there is some discipline issue in your college, so what you can do, one student affairs, dean of student affairs, dean of academic affairs, and somebody else, and the principal, and everybody can form a group to make decision on the disciplinary issue committed by a student. So that is a task group. In an organization also, some problem finding, if there is some issues with the customers or some defect are there, you need to find the reason for that. So you form a task group, right? And informal groups are not typically determined by the organizational structure. So you have interest group as well as friendship groups. Interest groups, you come together because you have a common interest. For example, you would like to determine the number of holidays for this year. So all the people who are interested in having the holidays distributed in a particular way, they will come together, right? And interest group can also be, suppose if you want to discuss about the bonus that has been given, you want to represent that. So people come together and then they will represent that to the management. So there are various interests, because you may not know the people, but you come together because of a common interest. And then friendship, it is because you go to lunch together, you go to the cafe, to the canteen. So you form a group, and they are based on maybe some fan clubs or the chess playing team or the cricket team in the organization. These are all based on friendship, kind of people who will have lunch together. So this is how we classify groups. Okay, and again, this is the same repetition. Then why do people join groups? Why do people join? Because of course you feel secure, because you're not alone. You feel brave, you feel more courageous when you are in a group. That is a very obvious human thing, that when we are not alone, we feel more courageous, brave, and more secure in the group, right? You don't feel vulnerable. And of course it gives you a status, because if you're part of an important group, if you're part of an important fact-finding committee, problem-solving team, or a particular group which is which gives you a lot of, which everybody looks as a very prestigious group, then you also get that status to be part. You're a member of that prestigious group, or a group which is considered very important by the others. And of course, your self-esteem gets boosted, because your identity is associated with the group. So you have that confidence when you are interacting with others. And affiliation also, it somehow helps you fulfill your social needs, like that Maslow's hierarchy theory, the motivation. So social needs, your need to be friendly, to be social with people. As human beings are all social animals, so you want that friendship, camaraderie, so that affiliation needs is fulfilled. And power, of course, when you are in a group, you feel you get the power of the group, because group has more power, more bargaining power. So you feel powerful when you are part of a group. Then of course, achieving, single person achieving more than that, if the entire it's easy when you have a collective, people can achieve a goal easier than a single person going for certain things. And moreover, in certain situations, a single person may not be able to achieve the goal, but you need to have a group of people with different expertise coming together and then achieving a particular goal. So that is why these are the reasons why people join groups, and groups are formed to have that synergy, to get that creativity, solve problems, and personal reasons as well as for the organization, the outcome or the outcome matters. So that is why they form the groups. Okay. So here I sometimes show my students a video also. If time permits, I'll show you. Or would you like to see the video now? Why groups are better? Would you like to see the video?
Yes, sure, ma'am.
Okay. Let me see. Let me see if I can, Okay, so can you see the video?
Sure, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the
Yes.
volume is okay.
It's smarter to travel in groups.
Okay. Okay, so that was it. So could you, I show these videos, these are always available in the internet. You can always pick it up and show them to the students. There are other videos also. If you go through the YouTube, you will find that there are n number of videos which you can always show them, right? So the screen is visible, right? Can
Not
you all see?
visible, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Not visible. Okay, just a second. Okay, now the screen is visible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Just a second. Okay, so these are why the reasons why people would like to join the group. Then some activities can also be given to people, like for your team members. Before you introduce about the 5 stages of groups, which you must be knowing. There are 5-stage model of a group. Before that, what I do is I will give them some activity. You can also think of certain activities which can be given. Like building a tower, you can give minimum resources like newspapers or maybe some glue and sketch pens or whatever, and then minimum resources, and ask them to build a tower by after dividing them into groups. Let them build a tower and say that there are certain criterias based on which you will be the best group will be decided. So there will be some prize. You can have some small gift and then say that the highest tower, and the tower should stand for around 1 minute or 2 minutes, whatever criteria you want, you can put, and say that it should stand for 2 minutes, and the tallest tower, and it should stand on, you can ask them to make it on the floor, and it will be a real challenge for them, and everybody gets the same resources, all the group members, and then ask them to do, and then give them
रिचार्ज
limited
प्लान नहीं है, कृपया तुरंत रिचार्ज करें।
you can mute. Can you all mute your microphones, whoever has? Okay. So this is how I ask them to do, and then they will build a tower and all in 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes you can give, and then you come to the next topic, and then you tell them about this 5-stage model of group development, like forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. So when you explain this by referring to the activity, so it becomes easier for the students to understand. Like you can say forming, because whenever you give a task, you have created a group and you give a task first, and if the students are not from the same section, or they are and most of the students may be sitting with friends, but when you disturb that comfort zone and then make them into groups where they are working with their colleagues whom they don't know very well, so initially there will be a lot of discussions. They are just getting used. They will look at each other's face, and they try to digest the fact that they have to work with these set of partners, and then they may have some conflict, in the sense everybody will come with their ideas, and then that will all settle down, and then they start focusing on the task of building a tower, which is performing, and finally it is adjourning. So adjourning we'll talk about later. So all these stages you can explain to them through that activity. You can say when the forming happens, there is an uncertainty about purpose, structure, and leadership. So in a typical organization also, when there is a group is formed, there is sometimes, okay, people are getting used to each other, and what will be the structure, who will be the leader, that kind of uncertainty exists. And then the second stage you go, and where there is storming, where you have intra-group conflict, as members may resist a little bit of there will be a little bit of ambiguity, right? Who will be the leader, or what will be their role, what they have to do. So there will be like conflicts, and all that is settled when it comes to norming, and the group is now okay. They are okay with the goal expectations, what is expected of them, and now they become they have a high collegiality, and then they start performing. And that is how the typical 5-stage model of group development works, right? So for a typical organization, the members, the questions that come in the minds of members are what is expected. So in the forming stage, they will think what is expected of me, what are our goals. So all these questions arise in their mind. And there are certain interpersonal issues like uncertainty, task issues like you have to orient your members, leadership behaviors. So these are some of the issues which you can go through. In norming also, what are the expectations, what role is best for me, who will I be supported. So these are the concerns which come. Interpersonal issues like cooperation, conformity to norms, commitment to a team vision. So all these kinds of interpersonal issues also come during the norming stage. And finally, the performing stage comes, where they start working. And for every stage, there are certain task issues, interpersonal issues. So you can relate it to the activity that the students do, and you can also enrich your explanation through examples from the organization, and help students understand better. And so all these stages, what should you do at the first stage? You should break the ice, facilitate as a leader, or how you should be doing. You should break the, you can make each other talk about during in the forming stage, understanding each other, facilitating. One person may take on the role of a facilitator and then help them understand each other. Then in the storming, conflict, disagreement, so you need to resolve all these differences. Only when it is resolved, you go to the norming stage. And then everybody is settled with the goals and expectations in the norming, and then finally cooperation and problem solving happens. In the adjourning stage, sometimes people are very relieved that they're not part of the group. Maybe the group they were not very comfortable, or there are strong bonds happen between the members, and during the adjourning or disbanding of the group, they may feel a little uncomfortable or not very happy, and they may feel sad about it. So that depends on the kind of group they were involved in. So there have been a lot of critiques of this 5-stage model. One of the critique has been that this group effectiveness, or they say that usually as the group progresses from one stage to another, the effectiveness also increases. But that is not very, it has been found that that is not very true. Sometimes, storming and performing happens together. So this is a 5-stage model that has been given, but it is not sacrosanct that it has to follow this 5-stage model, right? And there are multiple other reasons why groups function. You find that sometimes in a cockpit, there are 3 pilots who are there, co-pilot and co-pilots. Within 10 minutes, they start performing. So this norming and the storming and all those stages are not there. They just perform because it is the structure, the organizational structure that determines that team, and they have time constraints and they have to do the task. So within 10 minutes, the bonding happens, and then they are high-performing team because they have to fly that aircraft. So it is not necessary that all the 5 stages the team has to go through. So the reasons can be much more complex than the organization structure. Then at 2 stages, as I told you, 2 stages can occur at the same time. You are performing as well as there is a storming stage also going on in the team. So it is not that it should typically follow. So this is just for reference. And then you have and then in groups they say that conflict is good. Only when conflict happens, you find that new ideas come. So they say that during the storming stage, sometimes that may be the most productive stage. It is, or maybe it is as productive as the performance stage. So group conflict is sometimes good, not to a high degree, but to a moderate degree, it is good. So during the storming stage also, you find that groups are performing well. And then, as I told you, again, the stages are not always sequential. So, and multiple stages may take simultaneously, and sometimes the group can regress to the former. Sometimes conflict can occur during the performance stage, and it can regress to the previous stage. So there are certain critiques of this 5-stage model, and it is not necessary that it has to follow these 5 stages. So that is what this says. Okay. Any questions that you have before we move on to the next one? The audio, everything is okay with you all? If I get some responses, it will make me a little comfortable.
Perfect, loud and enough.
Okay, fine. So anything would you like to say something, or you have any questions?
So far, so good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So again, in these 5 stages, they say that when there is a special condition, like it is time determined, you have a deadline, you have very limited time. At that time, the group may not follow the typical 5-stage model. So there is another model which has been mentioned, that is punctuated equilibrium model and all. So this model, what they say is, the team members, they will come in the phase 1, and they will work, and then till what the time limit is there. So till half the time is over, they may be in an inertia. They may not work, and some minimal amount of work they will do, whatever work is or task is assigned to them. And then suddenly they will realize that now half the time is over. Now what do we do, right? So then quickly there is a transition, and then the performance is just peaks up. And then again, there is an inertia, and then they will a little bit laid back, and then they will perform. And finally, they will realize that the deadline is approaching, and then again a spurt in activity, and then you complete it. So this is the kind of model which happens when you have a time limit. When groups are and there is a time limit, there is a deadline coming, and with limited time, you find this kind of thing is more common. So all these models and all are an outcome of the researchers. Many of these psychologists or social scientists, they have done a lot of experiments, and after that they have come up with these models, and they find that this works in many of the instances when time is a limiting factor. Then another important thing about groups, again, this also you can, with students, you can have so many ways of role plays and all you can do, and you can explain these concepts very interestingly. So there are group properties. We'll go one by one, these group properties. One of the most main important thing is in roles. Okay, so one of the most important thing is roles, then norm, status, size, and cohesiveness. So the group property number one, that is the role. Role is a very important thing. I think Dr. Uday Parekh and T.V. Rao and all, they did a lot of work in that, and it is relevant. So what is a role? Role is the set of expected behavior patterns that are attributed to occupying a given position. Note that, position in a social unit. So as individuals, we also play multiple roles. So if we are in an organization, we are a teacher, we are a professor, we have a role to play in that. Then we are a subordinate to our director or a principal. So there are certain expectations from our position of being an associate professor or an assistant professor. So there's work-related role. Then personally, you have we may be a husband, wife, brother, sister, mother, father. So, and you can also be hold a position in a religious community. You can be managing a trust, or you can be part of any other religious community where some role or some position is assigned to you. And you may be a Rotarian, or you may be part of Lions Club. So so whatever position is given, there is certain expected behavior patterns that is attributed to the position. Okay, so role means that. Okay, and this is very important because in a group also you are assigned a role, and there are certain expectations from your role, right? So one of the aspects of role is role identity. So roles, for example, you occupy a position, and there are certain associated attitudes and behaviors related to that role. That is called role identity. For example, if you are a union leader, right? So you have to be pro-workers. So that is the associated behavior that you have to bargain for the workers. And certain attitudes it is pro-worker attitude, not pro-management attitude. But suppose your role, suppose somebody asks you to be, head, not being a union leader, but suppose you are elevated to a manager or to a higher position in the organization where you're no longer a union leader. What will happen? Then suddenly you will see that there is a change. You will behave according to the role that is assigned to you. That is, you will be pro-management, then you will no longer be pro-worker. You will be pro-management, and your behavior will also be whatever you are bargaining, your behavior will be showing the attitude of, and the behavior is a result of the attitude, right? So that comes from the attitude of being pro-management. So this is role identity. So in a group also, you will have an identity. So if you're a leader, there are multiple roles. You can be a facilitator, you can be a leader, you can be idea generator, you can be a person who's an implementer. So you get an identity. And in an organization, the entire employees, we are all part of the entire group called the organization. So your position determines your attitude and your behavior. Then there is something called as role perception. It is how we view about our role. We have certain perception. We have certain view as to how we should act in a given situation. That is role perception. So if you are a manager, you understand that as a manager you should be behaving in certain way. You should act in a certain way, and that is your perception of the role of a manager. So we also act according to the way we perceive. So as in a personal life also, as a head of a religious community or holding a position in a club, so we will assume, okay, as a club member, I'm supposed to do these things. So this is there in your mind about role perception. And there is also something called as role expectations, like what others expect you to do, right? Like how others believe you should act in a given situation. Role perception is how you believe that you should act in a given situation, and role expectation is how others believe that you should act in a given situation. So one of the famous thing about psychological contract, you must have already heard, it is the unwritten agreement that exists between an employer and an employee. So the employer will expect from your role that the employee should be loyal, sincere, should complete the tasks on time, and all those things. The employer has certain expectations, which is not written. It is an unwritten agreement. And similarly, the employee will have certain expectations like fair wages, appreciation, recognition, rewards for the work that he or she is doing. So these are all, and if this is not met, then you find that the employee satisfaction goes down and employees may not perform well. And from the employer's end, they may also fire the employee for non-performance. So this the expectations has to be met. Here, I will tell you a small story. I tell this story to my students. When role expectations are not met, what happens? I don't know, many of you may have heard, but once again, I'll tell the story. This is about the donkey and the dog. Okay. There's a washerman had a donkey and a dog, and you know the donkey's work. It has to carry heavy loads all day, right? And the donkey was used to work really. The washerman used to make the donkey work really hard, and it has to carry these heavy loads every day. And the donkey used to watch the dog. The dog will be sleeping in the sun all day, and when the owner comes, it will wag its tail and it will get all treats and all from the owner, and cuddly, and it goes and cuddles with the owner. And so the donkey used to see what a beautiful life the dog is leading. The job of the dog is such a good job, such a comfortable job. Once in a while, when some thieves come, the dog will alert the owner. And thieves don't come every day. If sometimes once in a while some strangers or thieves come, then the dog is alert and it alerts the owner. So now the donkey thinks that, why don't I do the job of the dog, right? So the donkey decides, and then it stays awake in the night, and it watches for thieves. So it also wants to alert the owner when thieves come. So many nights it stays awake, and after several nights, one day the thieves come. The moment the thieves come, the donkey spots it, but the dog is fast asleep. It doesn't see the thieves. The donkey starts braying. Okay. And when the donkey starts braying, the dog also wakes up and it also starts barking, and the thieves run away. The owner comes and sees that the thieves are running away, and the donkey and the dog both are making noise. Now the owner goes and pats the dog and says, "Well done, my boy. You have really saved us today." And then the owner picks up a stick and beats the donkey and says that, "I think I should give you more work. Unnecessarily, you're making a noise in the night." Okay, so what does this say? What does this story tell you? Anyone? Were you listening?
Role identity, it is. Identify
You should know when you have to keep.
Yeah, expectation. What is expected from the donkey?
Yes, madam.
Okay, so the expectation is the donkey should be carrying the. Yes, and from the dog, the expectation is. So when you don't meet the expectation, you may have thought that, oh yeah, wonderful, I have done a beautiful job. But if that is not expected from you, then you will not get the appreciation, right? Okay, so this story I tell the students, you can also use this. It's a wonderful way. It's an analogy to tell the students how you have to keep in mind the expectations of others also. And then this conflict also happens every role. If you take, there are n number of examples that you can say. As for example, if you are heading as a bank employee, you are transferred. So the organization has certain gives you certain responsibilities, transferable job, you have to go, you have to work late or whatever, not only bank and other organization, but at your home, your family also needs your time. So there is a conflict between the role of a husband, wife, mother, father, and in the organization, because of your position also there will be a conflict, and the role demands will be there. And the role demands, when both the role demands are in conflict, then you will find that you are stressed out. So these things also happen in our life, right? So role conflict is another thing. And all this role identity, there was an experiment which was conducted by Zimbardo. Okay, this fellow, I think from Stanford University. Yes, he was from Stanford University, a psychologist. He conducted an experiment with prisoner and guard, he named it, where he took 24 students. They were paid $15 a day to act as a prisoner and to act as a guard. Okay, and these students were chosen after they were given all the psychological tests, and they were normal students. They did not have any issue. They were normal students, and then they were picked up, and $15 a day he gave, and then he made them act like prisoner and guard, and then he did this experiment. So few of the students, it was 24 students, so around 12 of them were guards and around 12 of them were prisoners. And then he really, the students who were playing the role of prisoner were shut, but physical abuse was strictly prohibited. They were not supposed to beat or use any physical force. And what they found was, over a period of time, these guards, they started, they started becoming cruel, and the prisoners became so subdued. And this Zimbardo, this professor, was stunned with the kind of changes he could see. The prisoners became very submissive, and the guards started, verbal abuses. They were not allowed to be physical force, but then they became abusive, and they made the prisoners clean the toilet with the hands, and they were very and they were asked to do certain things, and the prisoners also obliged. They started believing that they are prisoners, and the guards also, they showed a lot of aggressiveness, and they started and they were all normal thinking people. And not even once the prisoner said, "It's just an experiment, please, you keep quiet, I will not do this any further." So that is how strong, if somebody says you're a prisoner, that stereotype is there in the mind, that people start believing. That is how strong, when roles are assigned, people follow into that roles, and they start behaving in the same way. And there are stereotypes are everywhere. You see these movies, you see books, stories, everywhere role stereotypes are defined. So you get the professor had not even ask the guards to do anything. He just said, you just guard them, and if there is any rebellion, please, you should try to finish the rebellion. That's all he said. But still, they started behaving on their own. So this is how powerful, role stereotypes and all are. So this also you can quote for your students. And then there is the other thing, group property norms. So all these group properties, what we are seeing, 6 or 7 of them, which I have listed, they tend to impact the group individual members. These group properties are so influential that members are influenced by these properties, right? Their behavior is influenced by them. So one was role. The other one is norms. Norms, again, these are acceptable standards of behavior within a group. Acceptable standards. It may not be written anywhere, but this is how you should behave. And a lot of pressure is there on the group members to behave in that certain manner. Okay. So this is about group norms. Then talking about norms, there was this famous Hawthorne studies, you must have studied, done by Elton Mayo, and then another team also took it up. So these Hawthorne studies also you can go through and then see, and there were a lot of experiments. Ultimately, what was the outcome of these experiments was that workers' behavior and sentiments were closely related. Whatever they behaved, it was related to their sentiments. So even if, they first tried in Hawthorne Works, which is in General Electric Company, they started this experiment, okay, from 1924 to 1932 or something. And this experiment, when they did this, tried to find out a link between physical environment and the output. They found that, and productivity, they did not find too much of a link. And what they found was when these experimental group was observed, their behavior changed. They felt special. And even when the illumination, the experiment was such that you increase the illumination, that is, the physical environment. When you increase the illumination, what it is expected that these people will produce more or productivity will go up. But yes, when they increase the illumination, the productivity went up. But when they decrease the illumination, also the productivity went up. Only when the illumination was, illumination is light, only when the light was as dim as moonlight, they were not able to produce up to the mark. So what does this say? And then again, another experiment, what they did was they separated a group of people and then they observed them. And they found that these people, though they were separated from the main group, their productivity increased. Day by day, it was increasing. And now why it was increasing, they could not understand. Because the reason they found out was when people are observed, they think that they are special. They have been chosen for some special, because the management has a lot of interest, some special purposes there. So automatically this increased, the productivity increased. And another experiment which when they did, then what they did was by giving some incentives to the workers. When you are producing something, when you produce more, you will get more incentives, they said, whoever produces more productivity. Then they found that the productivity did not increase at all. Now, why the productivity is not increasing? Then they find that the group has a norm. The group themselves will decide how much to produce, because they think that they are experimenting, they want to find out how much we are working, and then the targets they are going to increase. And when the targets are increased, not every group member will be able to fulfill that target, and those individuals who are not able to fulfill the target may be asked to leave the organization. So all these insecurities were there, and the group decided what everybody should produce. So that is how the group norms influence the behavior of the group members as well as their performance and output. So these studies, they showed this particular output or result. Okay. So again, these norms are very powerful, and they make the group members conform to certain behavior. So there are 4 kinds of norms, which is performance norm, which is explicit cues on how hard one should work, how to get the job done, and how much the level of output, like that third experiment which I told you. And what is the appropriate level of tardiness? Tardiness is, how much of doing the work late can be tolerated or not. And appearance, how you should appear. In certain organizations, talking badly about your superior or the organization is not accepted. So how you should behave, how you should express your loyalty, and how you should look busy, or how that group has an image. So they want the group members to appear in certain way, not only in dress but also in behavior. And then again, the social arrangement norms, the group will again create some norms in which they will say that who the group members should mingle with, whom they should have lunch with, how they should, the friendship inside the group as well as outside the group, whom they should mingle with. So this is also a kind of norm which they impose on the group members. Then allocation of resources also regarding pay, assignment of difficult jobs. They will have every group, they will have these in properties which depends entirely on the members of the group. And the allocation of resources also, some groups will say that difficult jobs, by rotation we will do, or how the difficult jobs have to be allocated and all. They will have certain ways, certain system of doing. So this also is and allocation of new tools and equipments, how it should be distributed. So they will have a norm on that, and based on that only they function. And then the other part about it is conformity. Conformity is when groups in which a person is aware of other members, and how much you associate yourself with the group members and your group. And you sometimes there are certain reference groups. Suppose you are part of a lot of groups, and there is a conflict. What will you do? You will choose to be part, you choose to be to follow a group which is a reference group, which you consider most important. If you are part of 3 groups, but A, B, and C, but A group is the one which you like a lot and you want to be associated as a member of that group, then what will you do? You will try to conform to the norms of A group, and then you may sometimes ignore the B and C groups. Okay, so this is also done, and conformity issues are solved like that. People have preferences for groups and they associate more with a particular reference group, and they will behave as the norms dictate of that group rather than the other groups. So this is regarding conformity. And then there is, again, conformity can be a powerful thing, because the groups, they will try to see to it that all the group members, conformity is nothing but, asking group members to behave in a certain way, to follow the norms. There is one Atch studies. Atch is another social scientist who did the study, and they say that members desire to avoid being visibly different. He did a study in the sense he showed 2 cards. In one card there was 3 lines, and in another card 1 line. And this one line was, for example, you name it X, and this 3 lines was A, B, and C. And he showed them and said that which line is the same as the other 3 lines. You found that, and what he did is, one person was the person who did not know about this experiment. The other group members knew about the experiment, and what he did was he asked some of the group members to say the wrong answer, and one person who is unaware, he is the last one to give the answer. What they found was, when most of the group members were giving the wrong answer, even if that one person knew that this is wrong, he also said the wrong answer, right? Because there is a lot of pressure when the group size is more, and you find most of them are saying something, even if that person knows that, okay, this is wrong, you find that they ultimately go ahead with that, with what group is saying. So that is one of the disadvantages of conformity. So groups put a lot of pressure on the members on conformity. And then groups, there are certain other disadvantages also. Deviant workplace behavior. Like deviant workplace behavior is leaving early, intentionally working late, wasting resources, lying, stealing, gossiping, spreading rumors. These kind of deviant workplace behavior, you find that is more when the group behaves in that way, when it is supported by group norms. And the group norms itself gives a go-ahead for such behavior. You find that this kind of behavior is encouraged, and particularly if the group is also supporting this kind of behavior. And when people are in groups, this kind of behavior tends to be more. Why? Because they have, you said, no, they become more courageous, more brave, and they are not scared to behave in this way. So if people are in groups, they are more likely to demonstrate deviant workplace behavior. And when group norms support also, they are more likely to demonstrate deviant workplace behavior. Like I told you, stealing, telling lies, not doing the work on time, gossiping, rumor, all these things. So these are some of the disadvantages of groups. Then the other important thing is status. So a socially defined position or rank given to groups or group members by others. So the group members, sometimes if a group is given a high status, group members are very proud to be part of that group. And within the group also, you will find that few people have high status. They will have higher status over the others. So a person's ability to, and what determines the status of a group member in the group, one is if the person is really talented and is really instrumental in contributing to the group's output. Or it can also be an individual's personal characteristics, like a person is beautiful or very charming, good communication skills. So these kinds of things also gives the person a elevated status. Apart from that, if the person is a leader in a leadership position over the others, then also the person gets a better status, and that power comes along with it. And what are the impact of this status? The impact of status is high status members are they resist conformity, they have freedom, they are more assertive, they speak their mind out. Okay, So high status people, as I told you, are more assertive. The low status members may not participate in sometimes in decision making. And this, the status differences, if it is there in the group, sometimes the group creativity may suffer. That is why, and status also, when people perceive the status is given to someone but they don't deserve it, if that inequity is there in the group, then again you find that people are not happy with the way things are and they will not work. So group creativity and group performance may work. And then the other property about group is size. So smaller groups are faster at completing tasks and members perform better. This has been an Is it okay? Can you hear me? In between, the connection went off.
Yeah, now fine, madam. Now fine, madam. Yeah, now fine. Now fine.
Okay. In between, the connection just went off. I think now it is okay. Okay, let us resume. Okay, so there are things like group. We were in the 5-stage group model, and just a second. Okay, so there was an experiment where they one professor did one experiment, and he found that size does matter, and 7 is the ideal size where people really work. You find the group is effective. Larger groups are effective when you have some problem finding or problem solving or fact finding kind of situations are there where you need to find a solution, or some information. You need a lot of information and different perspectives are essential. When there is creativity is essential, then you find a larger group is more effective. But if suppose you have to get some task done, you find that 7 is better. This also, when you are explaining to the students, you can have different tasks where a task can be given to a larger group, and then you can give the timing. You can find out how fast they are doing, and also by giving but again reducing the group size and giving a task and seeing how fast they are doing, you can demonstrate that. So large groups are better, as I told you, in problem solving, but small groups better in getting a task done because it saves a lot of time. And all these stages also, you find that they are able to overcome, like forming, storming, norming, and all. Then in larger group, what happens is there is a tendency to not work. For example, you must have heard about the term called as free rider. Social loafing, there's a free rider. That is, others are working, and a member may choose not to work or not to work to his full potential. And then whatever group gets the credit, he also takes in the credit without putting in much of an effort. So that is social loafing or free riders, as they say. So there is one small video. Let us see that video. I'm talking for a long time. So this video also is quite interesting, and similar videos are available in the net, which also you can show to the students. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just a second.
Hello, ma'am,
Yeah.
not getting. Yeah. Now fine, now fine. I thought we are not getting you. That's yeah.
Okay. So you saw the video?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that is a popular video. It has come in WhatsApp and all. So for students, you can liven the class by showing such videos about social loafing. There are n number of videos which are there, right? This is just because you keep on talking and then the students become they will be really bored. So if you have anything to say or something, you can say. Any doubts, questions? Shall I go ahead then?
Ma'am, can I say something, ma'am?
Yes, of course. Please go ahead.
Ma'am, I think according to me, these all things are depend on the mutual understanding. What I feel, ma'am.
Yes, mutual
Everything.
understanding.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
Yes, of course. But then sometimes in an organizational situation, nobody asks you whether you want to be part of the group or not. You have to get along, no?
Yes. Individually, you have to perform.
Individually also, but there are groups. I don't know in organizations how many of you all have experience of working in an organization. But okay, if you take your institute example also, suppose if it is your NAC accreditation or NBA or your ACBSP, whatever you are going, then sometimes you have to work as a team, right?
Right, ma'am. Yes.
When you have to work for an FDP or it can be a project. So that way, see, academicians, they have a lot of freedom. But what here we are discussing is, we are teaching management to the students, and this is the kind of situation that they will experience in an organization. They may not be joining as a faculty. So in a typical organizations, you like it or not, you have to work. And nowadays, collaboration, teamwork, the ability to work in a team and all are valued very highly. It is considered as one of the most valuable soft skill, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
Yes. So you have to, people have to cooperate and all. You cannot change people, but at least you can change yourself. And then there are few people whom everybody wants in the team, and there are few people whom nobody wants. So it is for them to self-introspection. Yes.
Correct.
So these are deeper issues. But when we are telling students also, we should encourage them to work in groups. The peer learning will be, and it is better that we give them practice right now. So because when they go to an organization, that will be ultimately the situation there. There you cannot survive only on your own talent. How much ever you are talented, you will have to work with others. You cannot work in isolation, the way the situation is right now. Okay. So that is why how we can enrich whatever, each concept, how we can explain to the students through videos, through activities. As I told you, that building of the tower activity is there. Then another activity is also available in the internet, which I'll tell you, which you can use, and then you explain these concepts to them. Okay. So is it okay if I go through a little faster through the concepts? Because anyway, these concepts you can find out. Maybe I will focus more on what kind of activities you can tell the students. Is that okay?
Okay, ma'am. All right, please.
So we're a little hard pressed with time, right? So again, okay, fine. The other group property is cohesiveness. Cohesiveness is the degree to which the members are like a glue, you know, to the degree to which the group members are attracted to each other, motivated to stay in the group, how much you feel part of the group, how much you're attracted to the group, and you're motivated to be in there. So, you know, that is again called as, that gives rise to that collegiality that you talk about. So they say that they had come up with these performance-related norms and cohesiveness, how they impact productivity. And very interestingly, they say that high cohesiveness with high norms, that is high performance norms, that helps in higher output or higher productivity. Because performance norms we saw was all about, you know, how much hard you should work, how much output should be there, how you should work and all. If those norms are high, as well as cohesiveness is high, you will find higher productivity. So this is grid which is there, which explains beautifully the relationship between performance norm and cohesiveness and how that determines the productivity. So you find that if performance norms are high and cohesiveness is high, high productivity. But if performance norms are low and cohesiveness is also low, you find that the productivity is low. Similarly, performance norm is high, but cohesiveness is low. That means moderate productivity, because yes, cohesiveness is low, but then performance norms are there, so there will be peer pressure. So you are forced to work. And if performance norms are low, cohesiveness is low, not, it can be moderate to low, because again, you want to prove everything to others, so you may perform. So this is the grid which has been given, and this again has been, this model has been again proved by a lot of social scientists. And how do you encourage cohesiveness? Making a smaller group is always better. Like I told you, you know, these bigger groups only for some creativity, idea generation, or fact finding, or problem solving is okay, but cohesiveness comes with smaller groups. You feel part of the group more when you have, because you understand each other much better. It's better. It's always you understand lesser number of people. You get a fairly good understanding. More number of people, it takes a lot of time and efforts to understand a larger group. So you find smaller group is better. Encourage agreement with group goals. You should all. How do you ensure that cohesiveness is there? You try to encourage that the group goals. Everybody should believe in the group goals. Everybody should have the same expectations from the goals, and increase the time spent together. Like you find in organization also, every 3 months, nowadays it's not possible, but they will have some team out. In one of the organizations I know, they will have every quarter, they will have team out. The HR gives them the money, and they have to spend time with their team members. They can select with the amount of budget that is allocated to them. They can go out and stay in a resort somewhere and spend the night together, and they enjoy, and the next day they come. So all these time spending, they again help in building a collegiality and increasing the status, like increasing the group's image and perceived difficulty of group membership. You know, you consider your group as a very important group. You always stay together and create an identity of a high status. It's very prestigious to be part of this group kind of image you need to create. Then you stimulate competition. So always, you have competition with other groups. Again, the cohesiveness is more. You're competing with other groups. We stay together. We all are one, and we can win the others. That kind of a attitude you can build in your group members. Then give rewards to the groups rather than to individual members. When you give rewards to the group, it is always better, because then everybody will be motivated to stay together and work together and work for the group rather than putting their self-interest first. And physically isolate the group in the sense, you can always ask the group to be separate and work separately rather than working with others. Sometimes working with others, people can deviate. So you physically, so that they spend more time and without any disturbances from the external environment. So this is how you can encourage the cohesiveness. Again, social loafing is part of, earlier also I told you, this social loafing happens, and the video which we saw, tendency of individuals to expend less efforts when working collectively. This social loafing, one experiment this German psychologist Max Ringelmann had done. What he did was he did that rope pulling task. So he measured that, and he found that individually, when people are pulling the rope, they exert weight of around 63 kilograms. But when they were put in teams of 3, individual work was around 53 kilograms. And when they were put in teams of 8, he found that the individual contribution came down to 31 kilograms. So that is how social loafing is explained, because individually you come out with a certain output, but when you're in a team, the output definitely is high, but individual output becomes less. So that is the concept that this psychologist, Professor Max Ringelmann, had given. Individual output, when in a group, your individual output decreases. So if you say that individual output is X, and you are in a team of 3, so then it should be X into 3, but it is not the case, right? It is not the multiplication of individual person's contribution. So though in a group your contribution is more, but individually when you are in a group, your individual contribution becomes less when you were working individually. So this is the concept of social loafing. And what are the reasons for that? Because they say that sometimes people in a group, they perceive that unequal distribution of work is there. Somebody is getting lesser work and I'm getting more work. That kind of mindset may be there. Then the dispersion of responsibility also. When you are in a group, you don't feel the entire responsibility is on you. It is entire group's responsibility. So whatever is happening to everyone will happen. So it is not I only who is responsible. So you tend to take it easy. Then think that their contribution cannot be measured. Sometimes they may think that individual contribution, who will measure? They are measuring the group contribution. So it's okay. And some of the prevention things that you can do is setting up group goals, increase intergroup competition. You can increase the intergroup, some other group you can increase competition so that individual members are motivated to perform better, and engage in peer evaluation. You can also engage in each group member can evaluate the others. So that kind giving feedback to members, evaluate each other's work and then give feedback to them. Then you can also distribute rewards based on members' individual contribution. So individual contribution can be rewarded. So this way you can prevent social loafing. And now we come to the other important part, that is group decision making. And in group decision making, again, there are certain advantages, there are certain disadvantages, because more diversity of views is there and increased information is there, higher quality of decisions, everything is there, and increased acceptance of solution is there. These are some of the advantages, because when a group comes with a decision and the individual comes out with a solution, well, usually you find that people accept a group's decision or a solution better than an individual solution. That is very common, right? So these are some of the advantages, and some of the disadvantages. You find that there are dominant individuals, there is unclear responsibility, time and money. Again, when you are in a group, it takes a lot of time is there, and the cost is high. Managing groups, it involves a lot of cost. Individual people working, the cost is less, but you have a group, you have to have team out, this, that, and of course the cost becomes high. They take more time and responsibility is distributed. So these are some of the disadvantages, but nevertheless, and that is why they find that effectiveness and efficiency, when you compare in a group, you find that accuracy of a group is better than an average individual, but it is most accurate, it is less than the most accurate group member. So whatever task is done, you find that task, the group's accuracy is better than the average individual, but worse than the most accurate group member, right? So speed also, individuals are faster, creativity, groups are better, degree of acceptance, which we saw in the previous slide also, groups are better. So you can compare this and then you can decide whether we should go for group kind of a system or individual kind of a system to handle a particular task. So efficiency also, groups are less efficient. Like I told you, time and cost is more. So the decision to go for a group depends on the task and what is more valued, whether you want creativity or you want a more accurate decision. So for these things, when you compare, obviously you find that groups are better. So I told you again that some activities can be there, like one of the activity, Lost at Sea. which you can also Google and find out. You can Google, there is the entire thing is there, Lost at Sea. Has anybody done this particular activity or seen this activity, Lost at Sea, or desert survival, wilderness survival? Have you heard about this? Has anyone of you seen this?
No, madam.
Okay, so you can go through that. It's available on the internet, right? Lost at Sea and all. So you will find that this is a very beautiful activity in which a team, you give a situation to the team that you are lost in the sea and there are some 10 items which are there, and you have to save these 10 items. Okay, and you ask individuals, you first create groups and ask the individuals to work, and then they will rank all these 10 items, and then you ask them to work in a group and again rank these 10 items, and then you tell the experts opinion, and you ask them to compare, right? So when you're lost at sea, what are the things which are required? You require the mirror, food, water, and all. There are many items which are there. So you will find that the group has a different, and there are score also available. The group has a different score, individuals have a different score, and you compare that and see. And expert score, and you compare all the three. Sometimes individual score will be near the expert score, but the group score will not be near the expert score. What does that say? That individually you were better, but in a group your performance came down. So this helps you in all the group dynamics can be. It takes 1 or 2 hours, so you can go and look it up. One is that desert survival, Lost at Sea. If it was a workshop, I would have loved to have this activity. And all the other similar activities where the group is lost and there are many items which are there. How do you rank them? And then you compare it with the group members, and when you're working in a group, whatever score came, and you compare with the expert score, and then you see how the difference is. So this is how that is done, and you find that if your individual score was as similar to the expert, but when you are working in a team, your score was less than the expert score, that means that you did not have that, you were not able to convince your group members. Your group members used conformity and all, and made you conform to their thinking, right? And if your score was less than the expert, but the group score is near the expert, that means that yes, your group, working in a group is better than working individually for your group. So, or your group is working well. So this is how you can, show this. These activities are available in the internet. You can download it. The entire debriefing, everything is there. So it is an excellent activity when you are teaching group dynamics. Okay.
Yeah, it's really nice one, madam. Yeah, yes. Yeah, we can implement. Yeah.
Yes. Tell me, sir.
Yeah,
tell me. Go ahead.
Ma'am, if possible, kindly share all this content, including videos, ma'am. If possible, ma'am. Kindly share all these contents. It's really meaningful for all of us.
Is that so? Okay, how do you share? Like maybe I can send it to the organizer. The organizer has your email IDs, and I'll ask him to share it to you. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Fine.
Yes. So this is available in the internet. You can go through, read it, and it takes 1.5 hours actually, to be very frank. But students enjoy it like anything, and you can give a good debriefing.
Yes,
then group.
Yes,
okay. So group think again. Everybody tends to think similarly. Like one person says something and everybody agrees to that. This again is there was in NASA, there was 2 accidents which happened, which was Columbia and the Challenger space shuttle in 1986 and 2003, I guess. All this, they say, when they did the research, they found that it was because of groupthink, in the sense that few group members, they will say something, or majority of the group members may say something, and 1 or 2 group members, they may have a doubt, but they don't express it because they think nobody can go wrong. Why to say? Maybe that pressure is there to say yes. So when they don't say, this was the issue for that Columbia space shuttle, in which that Kalpana Chawla, she died. 7 of them died in that space shuttle. No, so there are few of them who wanted to say that there is an error, but they did not say, because majority of them believe that no problem, the space shuttle can go. So these kinds of errors can, or this kind of group thing can result in disaster. So every person should be encouraged to speak, give his or her view, and you should allow people to speak without imposing a few important people's judgment or opinion on others. So that is how you can do that, like limiting the group size, encourage group to actively seek input from all members, appoints a devil's advocate. This also you can do, right? And group shift is again when people take a lot of risks, and for example, when you are in a group, you are more confident, so you tend to take greater risk than you were when you were an individual. Or you can take a risk, or you can totally not take a risk. That is traditional conservative view also you can take. That is group shift. So when you are in a group, it gives you a lot of confidence, and what the group does is it takes greater risk which is not required. So that kind of an error in judgment also groups do. So you should try to avoid that. And in rare cases only, they take an extreme or risk avoidance shift. One shift is risk avoidance and one is high risk. Generally they will go for high risk, but in rare cases they will also become very conservative in thinking, and they will go with very low risk kind of thing. So this also should be avoided. Now there are many group decision making, like brainstorming, nominal group technique, which you can do it with your students. Brainstorming, nobody judges. That pressure of conformity will not be there. Everybody comes out with the ideas, and no idea is bad. You just list down the ideas, and finally you can discuss, and based on the importance of the ideas or everybody's vote, you can just eliminate the ideas which are not which may not be feasible, and have a ranking of the ideas. That is brainstorming. And nominal group technique is better than brainstorming in most of the times, because what happens is, in nominal group, everybody is asked to work individually on a particular task or a solution or an idea. And individually you create an idea, and then everybody is asked to tell their idea, and one or few people will rank those ideas based on the value of the ideas or importance of the ideas or how better the idea is. So in nominal group technique, why it is better is because you're working individually. So individually your mind is free to think. But in brainstorming, everybody is giving their idea. One person is giving idea, everybody hears, and sometimes it is influenced by the others' ideas. So when I hear somebody giving an idea, I may alter my idea. But in nominal group, you are working individually first, and then individually you're sharing. So these are some of the techniques which you can use. So cultural difference also impact the groups. For example, individualistic society, and you have also this society, like collectivist society. You know that US, Western countries are individualistic society, where individuals' performance achievement are given more importance. But Israel, China, most of the Asian countries like India, they are more collectivist in nature. India is somewhere in the middle, but Chinese society, Japanese society, they are all collectivist. They give importance to groups, right? So there also, group performance you find is better in these countries rather than individualistic culture-based countries. So this is again an important thing. Then you can also use Myers-Briggs flow to indicate different group members. See, all these you can note. Now I may not have time to explain this. This is Myers-Briggs personality differences. So you can do this for your students. There are many tools available in the internet. You can use this and map the personality of each of your students. This is to see what kind of personality trait your students have. So you can not only for students, for groups. So this is used when a group is coming together. This will help the group members to understand that all the members may be thinking differently, all are very different, right? And to accept differences. And one person may be strong in something, and the other person may be strong in something else. So this kind of thing that this tells Myers-Briggs flow. Similarly, you can also use Johari window. Johari window also, I'm not explaining. This is very, very self-evident. Johari window also helps in group performance in the way that how do you give feedback to your to your group members. Johari window is like when you're working in a team, there are certain characteristics which others know and you also know about yourself. That is arena, that open area which you can see on the screen is green. And there are certain characteristics which is known to yourself but not known to others, which is like mask that you wear, right? And there are certain areas where it is not known to self as well as it is, but it is not known to others. There are certain characteristics which you don't know that you have, but others know. This is where people can cheat you, because you don't know that you have those qualities, but others know. Maybe you're very soft-hearted or something, and they take advantage of that characteristics of yours. And there are certain areas like some hidden potential. Maybe you could play an instrument well, but you don't know, or there is a painter in you, you don't know. This is the red, where you don't know that you have such characteristics and others also don't know. So typically when you're working in a group, it is always better to have the green area big. That means you disclose about yourself to others, and others, you also take feedback from others. So you are an open person, and whatever you are, and the way you behave is the way you are. So that is green. So that helps in building trust among the group members. So Johari Window also has a lot of activities which also you can apply for your students, which may not be given in Stephen Robbins' book, but yes, this is also one way. Then 6 thinking hats also is good for decision making in groups, right? I think I'm overshooting time or something, 7 minutes. So I will just go a little fast. Is that okay? This PPT I will leave with you. You can use it for your students. You can explore more on each of these topics and come up with activities. And yes, so 6 thinking hats also, so that this conformity and dominating doesn't happen. You can assign role. White hat is a person, like blue hat is the person who is a facilitator. The person who you can ask students to create those hats and wear, and then any problems or solutions they can work like this. Typically for workshops for these working professionals also, we do this activities. So white hat is fact finding. When you have a red hat, that means that you think about how your decision will impact others. So whatever decision is taking, the blue one is the one who is keeping tab of whatever is happening. White one will give a lot of information. The red person, and the person who's wearing the red hat, you don't have to physically wear, but you can assign a person or a group of people who are wearing red hat, and they will be more concerned about how it will impact people, the feelings associated with the solution of a task. Black is caution, the devil's advocate, always criticizing or coming up, not criticizing, coming up with, how, if this goes wrong, what will happen? Something can go wrong. So what all can go wrong, the person who's wearing the black hat will be telling. Then yellow is optimist, only seeing the positive aspect. Green one is the person has to be creative, think out of the box. The blue again finally summarizes. The blue is the one who sets goals and everything, how you have to go. And finally, the blue hat, that is the facilitator, will summarize the solution. So you can have this activity also. You can do that. Okay. So group norms, roles, and identities have powerful effects on individual behavior. So these are the summary of this thing. And now you have this communication. Communication, I'm not going much, because this process is very well explained in most of the books. Like there is a message to be sent, then there's encoding, there is noise, filter, all those things you must have. So the most important thing that you have to do in communication, there are so many videos available. You can use videos to highlight these, filter. Filter in mind, there are few videos which I showed, but which are there, but I'm not able to show you. Filter is there. Whenever we want to speak to someone, we will not give the full information. Similarly, people absorbing the information will not, people who absorb information also will hear or take the message which is very convenient for them. Something which is not convenient, people don't take it, right? So communication entire process is all about giving clues. The way, I'm not going by the book, I say that you give clues. It is non-verbal clues, it is verbal, the message which you give. The message can be information, it can be attitude, feeling, emotions. So that message is given through clues. It is both verbal clues as well as non-verbal clues. It is like a puzzle, and the sender will give the clue and the receiver will take that clue and then interpret it, right? So there are certain barriers which exist. So many barriers. Barriers can be, you know, the filters which is there in the mind, our upbringing, our the way we are brought up, your thought process, values, opinions. All these are act as filters. Sometimes the message that we receive, it goes through that filter, and then you interpret the message, right? So that is the entire communication process. And in the organization, you always tell about the downward communication, which is order, direction from the top level people to the lower level people. That obviously happens. So the directions, goals, vision, mission, all that travels down. And upward is suggestions, reports, right? All those things, suggestions, reports, grievances, these are the ones which travel upward. And lateral communication, of course, information which is passed between the members of the same level, maybe interdepartment or in your own department, the same level people. And this is all organizational communication, which follows a line of authority according to the organization structure, right? And then you can also talk about all these, what are the things that you need to care about when it is upward. Then in downward communication also, don't be rude, you should listen. There is open door policy, which you can explain to the students. Like open door policy is, the freedom for anyone in the organization at any level to go and meet your superior. So that kind of system in an organization is a very good system, where the top level managers will know what is happening in the organization, and they will be in touch with the people at the lower level also. So this rumors. So again, there is another, all these were formal communication. There is another one which is called as grapevine, because it travels like a grapevine, which is rumors and all, like water cooler talks and all. The rumors spread when there is some change in the organization, some uncertainty is there, some major changes are going to happen, then this happens. So the organization should take care that rumors and all are curtailed. That is why they have very often open meetings. The top managements interact with the lower level employees. There is town hall meetings. There is corporate communication where the chief executive comes and addresses all the employees, and any employee can ask anything to the chief executive. So such things are very common in organization, and they happen frequently, so that grapevine doesn't spread, or this informal communication does not spread and cause rumors, and it impacts the image of the organization. Okay, so these are some of the things. Channel also, which channel you're using. So channel richness is certain channels you can give multiple clues or cues. So you find that the best channels are, the video face-to-face is the best one. Face-to-face is the best one. Sorry, I think we lost that. Face-to-face communication is best. Audio-visual ones are best. Live speeches are best, because there are many cues. You are speaking, you are showing something, and everything. And the channel is through which the communication is, the medium through which the communication gets passed. So you find formal bullets, memos, and all, they are very less in richness. And you find more rich is the one which is face-to-face. Live speeches, telephone conversation are more richer. So you can demonstrate that also through some activities. And this is one joke which I had put. Maybe you can go through when the thing is there. It is like, how the customer explains. This happens in organization. How the project leader understands. How the analyst designed it. How the programmer wrote. How the project was documented. How operations installed. How the customer was built. How it was supported. And what the customer really needed. So this is, loss of communication channel in the organization. Okay.
Yes, madam.
Yeah. So interpersonal, this is all there. Interpersonal, oral, written, non-verbal. These are very vast topics, but you can cover them, and you can always tell them about the importance of non-verbal communication. In talking about non-verbal communication, if you'd like to note down, I have not mentioned in the PPT, there is a TED talk by Amy Cuddy, A-M-Y-C-U-D-D-Y, Amy Cuddy, which you can see, and you can also show to your students about non-verbal communication. You may note down. TED Talk by Amy Cuddy. So these are some of the things. I think this everybody understands. So I'm sorry because I'm just skipping those things. Cultural implications of communication also you can show. How much time do we have? I think we have. Okay. So cultural context of this also in communication, you find that low context and high context culture, also how it impacts the way we communicate, because in high context cultures are those which heavily rely on non-verbal and situational cues, and low context cultures rely heavily on words to convey. It's no is no, but high context, they give a lot of importance to non-verbal communication. And you find Western countries, they are all low context. So they rely on written words, verbal communication, they will rely. But these people, like for example, the Asian countries, Vietnamese or Japanese, Chinese and all, they will not explicitly say. There is more meaning in their action and non-verbal communication, and you have to read between the lines. So these are all high context cultures. So, and this creates a clash when you are doing business with these kinds of countries. So you need to understand that is why cross-cultural communication is also one aspect which you can have a session on that for your students. Okay. So I'm listening also. There are so many stories which are there. What I do for listening is, what exercise I do to stress the importance of listening is, I will what I will do is I will ask 5 students to come, and 4 of the students I will ask them to wait outside the class, and I will tell a long story, okay, in front of the class to one of the 5 chosen students also included. And then I will call one student from outside to come in, and I will ask this student in front of whom I told the story, and the class is also listening, to narrate the story to the other student, right? And then again, then you will find that whatever I have said, some 70% only the student narrates to the other student. And then I will call another student again, and I ask her to again narrate it. So what happens is, again, 50% is lost, or sometimes the 20 to 30% is lost. Again, I will ask the other student, and this student will again tell the other student. So the story, when it goes from one person to another person, you will find that the entire meaning becomes, entire story changes, and everybody laughs, and you will find your story entirely has changed. So this way I will tell them about communication. When it transfers from one person to another, how much changes happen, which you can use it in your class also. It's a beautiful exercise, right? And I also tell them that, we speak at the rate of about 150 words per minute, but we can hear at the rate of about 400 to 600 words per minute. So what happens, our mind is free. That is why our mind goes somewhere and we don't absorb all the information. So this also I show them. Then what are the things that you need to do for active listening, that you need to nod, you need to, non-verbally show that you are listening to them, avoid multitasking, give undivided attention. So all these things, this also. To listen, you need to look in the eye, inquire, summarize, take notes, encourage the speaker by nodding, by giving sounds like and all. So that encourages the speaker, and any strong feelings that you have towards the speaker or the content he or she is delivering, neutralize that and listen. Listen only to the matter what he's saying. So this is again a repetition, common errors that we make. Sometimes speaking for others, the others you may know, speaking for others, when you're in a group, sometimes we say, no, we will do this, but nobody has given you the right to say we only speak for ourselves. Only when others say that you speak on behalf of us, then only we should use we. Otherwise you don't use we, you say I think. Whenever you are giving an opinion, always say I think or I believe. Don't say we think, we believe, until and unless others have asked you to say on their behalf. So this is one error that most of us make. So seek first to understand and then to be understood. Courage is what it takes to sit down and listen. So these are some of the things. So I think that is the end of that. Communication, I did it in a hurry, But anyway, I think 5 minutes we can spare. When is your next session?
Yes.